Hello my friends, welcome back to another little tutorial. I hope you're all keeping very well out there and painting beautiful paintings and enjoying the process. This week I'm going to paint something that's very eye-catching. Reflections. I'm going to try and paint some realistic looking reflections. It's a beautiful scene. Now I have a canvas here. It's a canvas I purchased in Aldi's and they're beautiful canvases. It's a very wide canvas. It's 24 inches by 8. 24 inches by 8. You can see it's a very long, wide, narrow canvas. It's very difficult to find canvases like this. They only come up for sale every now and then. It's a very wide canvas, and I thought it would make a beautiful painting of a little landscape with reflections. Very kind of, okay, you might think it's squashed, but it's not. It's a good idea to try canvases like this to create very panoramic views. When this is framed, it's going to look lovely, I hope. So I have a beautiful scene for you today. Some nice reflections, some trees, nice and colourful. So let's have a bit of fun and let's see what we can do with this canvas. They're lovely canvases, they're really well primed. And I got this for €8. I'm wrong. It was a pack of 3 for €8. For €7.99, a pack of 3 of these canvases. It's very high quality canvas. It's 380 gram weight canvas. So it's a very thick canvas, very well primed, lovely and smooth. They're just fantastic. Every now and then Aldi's and Lidl's will get these canvases in sets, and they're just fantastic value. They really are. They don't need to be primed or anything like that. They're lovely and soft and smooth. So I'm going to paint a nice little scene on this. Reflections, a couple of trees, some nice realistic reflections. So if you want to learn about reflections, this could be an interesting tutorial. Okay, let's go and have a bit of fun with this. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's have a bit of fun. There's a reference photograph just up there. I think you should be able to see it around there somewhere. I hope it fits in okay. Because it's such a wide canvas, trying to get everything into frame is quite difficult. So I hope you can see it. Isn't that lovely? I thought that would make just a perfect little tutorial for a canvas like this. Nice and wide, but still a lot in the painting. So look, let's have a bit of fun with this and see what we can do. Let's see what we can create using easy steps. I'm going to put some masking tape across for the horizon, as they say. So just at the bottom of that tree line where the water meets the trees, I'm going to put some masking tape just across so I can get a nice straight line. I'm going to go nice and high with this now because we want a lot of reflection in this. How about there? Is that good? Let's just stick that down on top there, and let's get, so now you can see it's only about 2 inches of the top, the sky and the trees. But you would be very surprised. You could fit a lot into something like that. So let's just try it. Come on, let's have a bit of fun with this. I'm excited. It's a beautiful picture. I'm going to take a big brush. Oh, I'll tell you my colours first. I have phaylo blue, titanium white, naples yellow, cadmium red, magenta, burnt sienna, cadmium yellow, and some lamp black. Now there's one colour I forgot. If I can find it somewhere. I forgot some burnt umber. Here it is. A nice colourful palette. Now, I'm not going to be finishing all of this today. I might just do the sky and some of the trees, perhaps, because I want to take my time and I want to explain to you in detail what I'm doing. Let's grab a big brush. I have some linseed oil, some turpentine with a little linseed oil in it. It just makes a beautiful thinners. I get a lot of questions about that. I just use turpentine with linseed oil. A little drop of linseed oil into the turpentine. It makes it nice and oily and smooth. And I use that for thinning my paints, and I use turpentine for washing my brush when I'm finished. I'm going to dampen my brush just very slightly. Just make it slightly damp. Okay, it's not soaking, it's just damp. All right. Let's take some white. And let's take some phaylo blue. That sky is a kind of a greeny blue, isn't it? There's a hint of a green in the blue. And phaylo blue is perfect for this because phaylo blue is on the green kind of side of blue. It's a rich sort of, it's a rich blue, but it's more on the greeny kind of hue, if you know what I mean. It's completely kind of different to cobalt or French ultramarine. They're very rich kind of bluey blues, but this one is more of an earthy blue, phaylo blue. It has that beautiful kind of earthy shade in it, and it's very easy to get some nice turquoises for seascapes, that kind of thing. Now into that, I'm going to just mix that now, and I'm going to put into that a little touch of Naples yellow, and that will help just soften that blue to make it kind of a greeny sort of a blue. Now, can you see that? That kind of a shade, it's a beautiful sort of a greeny bluey shade. And this canvas is beautifully primed, I must say. I didn't prime this. I normally prime cheap canvases, but I must say these are fantastic. Look at the brush going across like that. Look, all the way across. It covers all the canvas just beautifully. That's very, very nice. I like that. Very, very little effort. So definitely, my friends, if you see these in Lidl's or Aldi, just pick up a couple and try them. They're lovely. They really are. Okay, back to our painting. I'm going to go halfway. I'm going to dry my brush on some tissue, take off that colour. Most of it, not all of it. So it's fairly dry now again. Pick up some white, and let's just put some white into this. Now I just have paint on its own, and even with just the paint, it's still moving lovely on the canvas. Look at that. Soften it across into the blue. Merge them together, nice and gently there with your brush. And let's just go with some white. Now I'm just going to take the tiniest touch of thinners on my brush, just to soften that white a little. There we go. It's mostly paint. And let's just finish that with that very bright whitey blue. And there we go. And you could even get away with that because we have a lot going on with trees and stuff. You could get away with that absolutely fine if you wanted to. But I'm just going to take another brush. I'm going to get a medium stubby brush. Now, I sell these on my website if you want to go and take a look. They're beautiful small handled brushes and they're very soft. They're beautiful for trees and stuff. Go and take a look if you're interested. They're beautiful brushes, look. Let's just take some white on its own with some Naples yellow. Nice, crisp, bright, whitey colour. I'm just going to go around here and pop that in. Do you know what you could do? What we could do is dip some tissue in some thinners and let's just rub off some of this. That will just make it much easier for the white to sit on the canvas. I want to just put a bright spot in just there. Some white, little touch of Naples yellow, and let's just pop a little bright spot in along there, just to suggest that the sun is just there in that side. Soften it outwards into your blue. Look, soften it across very gently. I don't want to bring the blue right in to this. Give your brush a wipe on some tissue, go back into some white, little touch of Naples yellow again, and pop another little bit in, soften it away. So we end up with a lovely sort of a bright spot just along there. When we're doing our trees later on, we will have a beautiful bright spot just along there. Grab a little white as well, look, soften a bit of white in there, just little bits at a time. Soften it out into that blue, look, very gently. So now you can see we already have a beautiful bright kind of a glow just there. I hope you can see that all right now on camera. I really do. Nice bright colours. Okay, with the same brush, I'm going to start painting these trees in the distance. I'm just going to dampen this in some turpentine and clean it on some tissue, just to take some of the white off. You can see it's not spotless. That colour, it's a very kind of a dark colour, but there's hints of light in there as well, isn't there? So I'm just going to go for phaylo blue. I'm just trying this out. I'm seeing what I can do, just messing around with some colours. Phaylo blue, some magenta, a little hint of, let's say a little hint of burnt umber, and plenty of magenta in this. I want to just create a dark colour, but also giving it some distance, if you know what I mean. So it's off in the distance. So burnt umber, phthalo blue and magenta. That gives you this beautiful kind of a dark browny purple sort of a colour. Now I'm going into the blue that's already there. That doesn't matter. That will actually help. Let's just pop that all the way along first, only to there. We have some nice orange trees over here, so let's not worry about that for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start using the side of my brush on its edge like this, just to create the tops of some trees. And we will get a different brush in just a moment. So you can see now what's beginning to happen is these colours are softening into the sky. And that's really nice because it gives you immediately some distance, and they get nice and soft, and they're sort of disappearing into the distance, getting nice and soft. That's wonderful. I really like that. So that's why I like to paint wet into wet all the time. You just get some beautiful effects, don't you? See, that's looking quite nice now already, isn't it? Let's take another hint of burnt umber in there. And keep going. I'm just using the side of my brush, literally, the kind of the flat edge just on one side. I'm just dabbing it very gently like that. If you're worried about this, you can use like a fan brush or just even a regular small flat brush on its side as well, if you want to get nice sharp crisp lines. But I think this is just going to do absolutely fine. I'm not going to go too high up into the sky. I'm just rubbing my brush there now every couple of seconds just to keep it clean. I'm not going very far up into the sky with this. I know on the photograph it goes up a little bit more, but I'm just going to keep it down a little. So there we are, look at that, isn't that lovely? A nice simple row of trees. Now, you can, I will go darker just as it comes across. So where the light is hitting, it's going to be nice and soft, isn't it? So I'm going to soften this right in kind of to the white, just a little bit. I want it nice and kind of soft and merging into the sunlight. I will put some highlights on some of these. So I'm now going to just take some darker colour as it comes across. Let's go nice and dark. Let's take some black, some phthalo blue, and I go with some burnt umber. I'm using very little thinners in this now, okay? Very little. It's just a tiny amount, just to wet the brush just very slightly. And let's get that dark colour and start at the bottom, working our way across and letting it disappear and soften away. Okay, just like that. The same, just go right across, all the way across, nice and dark. And just mess them up a little bit. And then as it comes over, I'm going to go really dark. I'm going to go with just black and a hint of magenta. And I'm just going to go on the side like this and go nice and dark just at the point of the masking tape, just right at the bottom of that line, nice and dark, and leave it soften away again. Leave it soften out over this way, and then leave it soften upwards. So we now have a nice little tree line off in the distance, and it's nice and dark over on the right hand side. You could even go across here a little bit as well if you want. Very gently, dab, 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 soften them together. And I think that's okay. I think that looks fine. So you can see we have a nice suggestion of light over here, don't we? Now I'm going to clean that brush, dip it in some turpentine and give it a good rub on some tissue. Take most of that colour out. And I'm going to put a suggestion, just a little hint of sienna I'm going to take some burnt sienna, and I'm also going to take a little magenta, and then a hint of burnt umber. And then, to lighten that, I'm going to take some Naples yellow. So the Naples yellow will make this nice and sort of pastel-y, kind of a chalky colour. Nice, soft, pastel, chalky kind of a shade. I'm going to take some of that, and I'm just going to start adding little touches of that in just along the top, where the light may be catching the tips of the trees here and there. And it's also going to help later when we do the other trees. It's going to just balance the painting out nicely. So we'll have hints of sienna going throughout the painting, these lovely autumn colours. So I think that's all right. I'm not too worried about getting this absolutely perfect. I think that looks fairly okay. I'm going to go one step further and take a touch of Naples yellow on its own, even with that bit of brown that's in it, look. And I'm just going to tap a little touch of Naples yellow as well, just here and there, to catch the light. I really want to suggest the light kind of coming through the trees, just here especially, look. And I think that's enough. We don't need to go any further, really, because these are so far off in the distance. You see the way it looks slightly like it's just loads of lines all the way, and they all look very even, don't they? So I think it's a good idea to mix it up a little bit, mess them up slightly here and there. You don't have to have lots of just upright lines, if you understand. Sometimes it's a good idea just to have one or two and have a couple of big clumps like this. Just, have a bit of fun. Mess it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect all the way. I think that's a bit better now. So there we go. We are done with those trees. Let's pop in these trees on this side. Lovely autumn trees. I'm going to go with a dark colour first. I'll start with some burnt sienna, magenta, and a hint of black. And I'm simply going to just fill this in like this. And I'm keeping in mind as well, I have a frame going around this, so I'm going to lose about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So I'm going to bring these trees in a good bit. Some burnt umber, sienna, little magenta. And let's go like this. Let's just dab any brush around rough like this. All right, now I'm then going to go into some black and some burnt sienna on its own. Lots of paint. Just paint on its own. Get this nice and dark in here. Okay, I'll stop at that. I'm just keeping this nice and simplifying for you now, all right? I'm trying to keep it nice and simple. I've cleaned my brush. I'm going to go into some cadmium yellow, which is a very thick colour, and some burnt sienna. Lots of that, you see that? Just lots of paint. And you could let this dry if you want. I just prefer to work wet into wet. It may be a little more difficult to get the paint to stick, but it just, for me, the results are much nicer. So let's pick up lots of cadmium yellow with a little burnt sienna, and let's just start putting in the outside edges of those trees. You see that? Now this is a slow process. You have to build up your colours slowly as you go. It's very difficult to just get it the first time. Let's try some cadmium red with some cadmium yellow and a little Naples yellow. So you can see I'm just building them up bit by bit. If you find the paint is just not sticking for you, and what I would say to people is, once you put that first brush stroke on, just leave it. Because if you keep dabbing over the same area like this constantly, you just end up mixing everything together again. So that's why I say to people, just put the brush stroke on, put your paint on first time and leave it. I'm going to try that again. Cadmium yellow, little cadmium red. And let's take a little bit of white. That will make it nice and bright then, look. So you can see what I have. Nice thick paint. I'm just going to go dab, 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 dab. And then leave it. You see? Because you'll be very tempted to keep dabbing and dabbing and dabbing. And that's when you run into trouble. So you can see now I've just did a couple of dabs and I've left it. I just left it alone. One more last thing I'm going to do on that side, just to give it more of an impact, is I'm going to try a palette knife. I'm going to get some cadmium yellow. And I'm simply going to just scrape a little touch of that here and there. It's really just to catch some very bright highlights. That's the only reason. And I'm just kind of dabbing it around here and there, softening it back in. Now, doesn't that really make a big impact? I think it does. Let's put a little bit up here as well. And that's that side finished. I'm going to leave it at that. We have trees on the left, don't we? Let's have a look at the trees on the left. Okay, I'm going to start by putting in some tree trunks. Okay, I think it's time to remove the masking tape. I love doing that. It's the wonderful feeling, isn't it, when you see that lovely crisp line? I just love when that happens. I'm going to take, actually, I'll go back to my medium brush. I'm going to put in a little bit of land just across here. Let's just take some black and some cadmium red. All right, we have a little bit of land coming in. Not that far down, just around here. Come down at a slight angle. That will give you some perspective as well. And let's just give it a little bit of a dab like that and just suggest a little bit of roughness in the land. You know, you don't want to paint just straight lines across. Let's just go up a little bit here and there, look. There we go. Looking at the photograph, it's pretty much just black, isn't it? Just like that. Now let's put in some nice tree trunks coming up there. I'm going to get a big brush. Well, not a big brush, a big round brush. Let me find one now. I just need to find my brush. I have some good brushes that I can't find. Does that ever happen to you when you're looking for a particular brush and you can just never find the one you want? I have a little round brush here. I'm going to dampen that. Take some black. Mixed it with that brown there as well. Look, it's just basically a very dark colour, a blacky colour. Let's just put some little tree trunks in. They come out of the painting, don't they? Up out of the sky, away from the middle. And simply put a couple. They get thinner as they go up, don't they? Just like that. Don't spend too much time thinking about all of this. We have a nice thick one. Or maybe we have two thick ones. It looks like one big thick one, doesn't it? I reckon it's probably two. So I'm going to just put a little gap between them. Bring it down. I'm just keeping this nice and simple. I don't want to go too much trouble. Look, a couple of flicks like that. That just gives you the impression of some of them off in the distance as well. And perhaps sticking this one up here, bring one or two branches off of it as well. Now I pick up some black, lots of black on its own. Just darken some of these a little. So that's fine. I think that's really all we need to do for that section. Soften them down into the ground as well. So it all just merges together nicely, just like that. I think that's coming on quite nice so far, isn't it? We could pop in our foliage, and there's a few different ways we could do that. We could use the brush that we did for these, or we could use a fan brush. I think I'll try a fan brush today, just for a change. I'm going to see how I got a nice soft fan brush. Okay, I have a nice little soft one here. Well, it's not great, but it'll do. It'll do the job. I'll dampen that slightly, and I'm going to go into some cadmium yellow. Let's get some nice autumn colours on this. A little bit of turpentine on this now. That will help it remove from the brush much easier. It'll stick much better on the canvas with just a bit of turpentine. Cadmium yellow and a little touch of burnt sienna. Little touch of cadmium red. Make it nice and warm. Nice autumn colour. Okay, I have that on the tip of my brush. Let's just go like that. A bit more cadmium red, I think. And go back into that yellow. Pick up lots of that paint. Just a little turpentine as well, just to soften it. Let's just fill in this area with that lovely colour. I'm just being careful for now. I'm not doing too much. I don't want to cover the whole thing with just a big blob of paint. I'm leaving little gaps here and there, as you can see. And then I'm going to go for a slightly darker colour. I'm going to go cadmium red, some magenta, and a little burnt umber. Just a slightly dark browny, kind of a pinky shade. Because it gets quite dark in under the canopy, doesn't it? A dark browny colour. Okay, I'll stop at that. Next, I'll go back to my palette knife, I think. We'll just grab some cadmium yellow on the palette. I'm going to grab my palette knife, if I can find it. It's there somewhere. There we go. Let's just take some cadmium yellow and a little touch of cadmium red. This needs to be nice and bright here now, okay? Because it's just where the sun is coming in, so it's really going to, the sun is really going to catch this. Let's just put some little dabs of that colour around the edge, like that. You could even use the palette knife and flick, like that. It's just to create nice thick paint and leave it flick off. Look, create little tiny flicks with your brush, or with your knife, sorry. Tiny little flicks with the palette knife. Let's take a bit more red. And I love this very thick impasto technique. It's just a lot of fun to try, it really is. It's a nice way of just getting lots of thick paint on a canvas to create a really nice, dramatic kind of a feeling. Do you understand? Just pop a little bit of that through here and there. Again, you can leave this dry if you like before you go to all of this and start doing this. Can, of course, just leave it all dry if you like. But I'm a fan of working wet into wet like this. I just think it's very refreshing to paint like this. And I want to leave that. I think that's fine. Once that's finished, I'm just going to go back over some of my tree trunks and bring some of them just up here and there, just popping through. Okay, just let some of them go back through that thick foliage. I'm just going to do one more thing. I'm going to take some cadmium red and some burnt sienna, and I'm just going to pop a little bit of that over some of those tree trunks, just here and there. And my friends, I'm going to stop at that. I think that's part 1 finished. I might even go to a part 3. I'm going to take my time with all of this area. So let's just call that part 1 finished. All right, I'll be right back with part 2. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you very soon. Thank you again for watching.